All right, well, our speaker today is Jim Nelson, who's coming to us from the Minneapolis City of Lakes Rotary Club. Jim is a 25-year Rotarian. His classification is law, real estate, and he retired in 2015 after 43 years in private practice. For the last 32 years, he was with the firm of Briggs and Morgan in downtown Minneapolis. His second career is in volunteer service through Rotary, various volunteer positions with the City of Edina, and as a board member of Onward, a 501c3 company providing transitional housing and supportive services for homeless young adults in the southwest suburbs. Jim served as his club's president in 2009-2010 and as district governor for District 5950 in 2014-2015. After, what was her name? Who did you serve after as DG? What's her name?
Diane Kirby.
Diane Kirby.
Yeah.
Yes. After that, he served as district fundraising chair and district Rotary Foundation chair. His international water experience includes 5 trips to Western Honduras and participating in raising funds for 3 separate Rotary WASH projects, WASH being water, sanitation, and hygiene, totaling at least $3 million in project costs. Jim is married to Ellen Durkin and has 3 grown children and 6 grandchildren. He was born and raised in Breckenridge, Minnesota, and has lived in Edina for 40 plus years. So please give a Golden Valley Rotary welcome to Jim Nelson.
How
long do you want to talk?
As short or as long as you want.
25-ish, and we'll leave time for questions.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Great.
That's fine. Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to be here.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jim.
I'm going to see if I can get my PowerPoint up
Yes,
here.
it's still there. If you just, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
You take the Google Chrome away, it will reveal itself in there.
Okay.
There you are.
All right.
Do you want it to be,
Yeah.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. It's great to be here. I put together a PowerPoint. I put it together this morning because I was thinking this meeting was Wednesday afternoon. And I discovered late last night when I was looking up to get the address on your website, and found out, looks like it's gonna be early morning for me to put this together. So if it's a little disjointed, I apologize, but hopefully it'll be okay. Now let's see if I can figure out how to forward this. So this is a little bit of background on the projects that our districts, including my club and other clubs, have been involved in down in Honduras. But the main message, I guess, the overall message, is really the importance of collaboration on these kinds of projects. We can't do it by ourselves. No one person in a club can do a project. For most projects, no one club can even do it. It's important to collaborate with other Rotarians. It's important to collaborate with other organizations, and you'll see we did a lot of that in the case of these water projects. And the other major point I want to make is how we change lives with these projects. Not only the lives of the people we serve, but really the lives, we change our own lives, believe me. It's a life-changing experience to do these kinds of projects. So, let's see here. Now I can't figure out, I'm sorry, how to advance it.
No worries, let's go to full screen view.
Okay.
And then you should just be able to hit the arrow.
Oh, great, okay,
And that'll work.
okay. All right. So what are the problems we're addressing in our WASH projects? And we'll talk about what WASH is in a second, but we have 7 areas of focus in Rotary, and water and sanitation is just one of those areas. But it's such a key area because there are so many issues involved with the lack of water and sanitary conditions in Honduras and many other places in the world. And I'm just going to run through these. Most of this PowerPoint they're not words, they're pictures, so I'm going to go through it pretty fast. These are some of the other implications of lack of water and sanitation in schools as well as at home. Kids too sick to go to school, girls particularly when they reach the age of menstruation, they stop going to school if they're having their period. maybe they'll come back and maybe they don't. In a lot of cases, they don't come back. The time spent in just getting water for household use can really cut into these people's day, and contamination of crops. We've seen that in Honduras. They use contaminated water to water their fields. Nobody will buy the crops because they're contaminated. So there's all sorts of issues involved with water that really impact day-to-day life. So safe water. What is WASH? WASH is an acronym for water, sanitation, and hygiene. Of course, they all go together. You can have clean water, but if you don't have good sanitation, you're still going to have disease spread. If you don't have good hygiene, same thing. Just a side note, the last time I was down there, we were looking at a site where we had provided clean water, and I'll show some pictures of that. One of the people down there said, we were always told not to wash our hands because we didn't have enough water. There was a water saving. I hadn't even thought about that until the last time I was down there. So what are the essential steps to a global grant? I've just listed them here. We talk about collaboration. You need a Rotary club on the other end, the host club. The needs assessment, community buy-in, those tie together. You've got to figure out what the community needs, but you need to know that from the community. You can't tell the community what they need. They need to tell you what they need. You need to design the project for sustainability, and this gets back to community buy-in. You've got to have, you're going to leave the project. If you drill a well, this is not a well project, by the way, but if you drill a well and just leave it there and do nothing to guarantee that it's going to be maintained and kept up, you're going to come back in 2 years, and we've seen this over and over again, and the well doesn't work anymore for whatever reason. Parts break down. Some of the parts may have some valuable metals that are stolen, and so you've got to figure. And the Rotary Foundation is going to insist that you demonstrate how the project is going to be sustained once you leave. And of course, raising funds is the difficult part, and I've been involved in that in 3 different projects. And then the submission of the grant application to the Rotary Foundation, which can be a little bit of an arduous process, I might say, but it's worth it when you get it through. Here's where our project was. Our projects, there are 3 of them, and I'll describe those. It's kind of right in the area of the border of El Salvador. We were at a village which looked across the valley. Somebody said over there is El Salvador, so that's how close we were to El Salvador. We fly into San Pedro Sula, which you see up toward the north, and we drive. It's not a very far drive in terms of mileage, but it's a long drive in terms of distance because the roads are so bad there. We've had 3 projects in our district in this area in Western Honduras. And the first project, St. Louis Park sponsored. Steve Solbrecht was the main impetus for that. He was a Rotarian at St. Louis Park. I led the second project, which is my club, Minneapolis, City of Lakes. We've had with us, through some contacts, some people from the Rotary Club of Sacramento, California, came down and saw our projects. They got excited about it. They said, we want to do the next one. Will you help us raise funds? So that was our job. And the third project was to just raise funds in our district and get some district designated fund matching. So each project, I think in the introduction it was said that there were more than $3 million, and that is true. But each project, from a Rotary standpoint, was $400,000 in Rotary funds. We partnered. This is again back to the collaboration. We partnered with World Vision, who agreed to match dollar for dollar every Rotary dollar that was matched. So that amounted to an $800,000 project for those 3. So that's $2,400,000. But in addition to that, we've had participation from USAID, from municipalities and governments, spurred on by our contribution, came in and did some additional work, so that we have done over $3 million worth of projects, and I can't even tell you how many thousands of people we've, I'm sure those numbers are available someplace, but I've kind of forgotten what they are, but it's a lot. It's a lot of communities. And when we talk about water, we're talking about water for domestic use in homes, we're talking about in schools, sanitary facilities and water, and we're talking about hospitals and healthcare facilities. This is just a little background. Our first trip to Honduras, this project started with Steve Solbrecht's project, St. Louis Park, Noon Rotary Club. Our first visit to Honduras was back in 2013. There we met with people from World Vision and got to know them a little bit. These are World Vision people who are living in their Hondurans. World Vision has organizations in many countries around the world, and all people by local people. Then the next day we met with Rotarians from Santa Rosa de Capan. This is our first opportunity to meet with that club and to evaluate whether they're interested and eager to help us. That's a really key point, because obviously we can't be down there all the time. We need the trust of other Rotarians who, four-way test and all that stuff. So then we got to know our Rotary partners, and then it's off to the field, and here we go with needs assessment and visiting with the community. I just took a few pictures. You don't necessarily get your hands dirty, but you get your boots dirty, believe me, when you're going on the roads in Honduras. Some of these roads up in the mountains, you would not really even consider roads here in the United States. I think they're pretty, and there's just looking off, no guardrails on the road. So it's a little bit nerve-wracking the first couple of times you do it. The communities are very poor. This is just a picture of a street through a community. And this isn't one of the poor communities. This is one of the better off communities, actually. But so we were just going through that community to get to the ones we were going to hope to help. This is just an example. This is actually a prior project that we didn't have anything to do with, but just to show you what they're doing is laying PVC piping to bring clean water down from higher up in the mountains. In this area of Honduras, the adequacy of water is not the issue, it's access to the water that's the issue. So the trick is to find the clean water higher up in the mountains, bring it down in PVC pipes, and I'll show you some pictures, but this is the type of pipe that dig trenches. Most of the trenches, there are some that are dug by machine, most of these are dug by hand, miles and miles of trenches dug by hands for the people, the residents who are going to be benefited by the clean water. In this particular project, this reminds me that we talked to one of the gentlemen helping dig these trenches at this particular site. This is again a non-Rotary project. He said he'd been working there, I forget, 30 or 40 days in a row. He'd been digging trenches to get water to a village which was 5 miles from his house. He was hoping that eventually the water would make it all the way to his house. And then we visited village. That's kind of a picture of a typical village, very small villages, 200-300 people sometimes a little more. Getting to know the villagers, talking to them about what their needs are. You'll see some pictures where the need is evident, but then you need to know, okay, what's the solution? Wells are not a solution in this particular area, by the way. The geology is such, you really just can't drill wells in here. So we get to know people, and that's, again, that's the reward that comes back to us, is getting to know the people, especially for the kids. And that's really, Steve Solbrecht likes to say, that's what we do. We do it for the kids. We do it for the next generation. This young lady was really warmed my heart the first time. She made this, I was holding this, and I still got it. I was going to bring it along, and I forgot a little trinket with my name on it. So sweet. And you know, these kids are like our kids. They all have dreams, and this was a dreamer. a lot of those kids in these small villages, we talked to teachers who said, if we get them, what happens after sixth grade, he said, if we get them past sixth grade, we're happy, because they don't go any further. This little girl said she wanted to be a psychologist. And that's the school. And where do we get our water? Here we get to again, back to the needs assessment. That's a hole in the ground. That's where this village got their water. They would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, daylight, and come down with a bucket and fill water out of that pit, which is accessed by wild animals and farm animals, filthy water. They would bring it back to their homes and I guess boil it. Maybe they had some little pills or something to put in it, but that's what they did. And they had to get there early because they said by noon, it's gone. The water's all gone. So again, meeting with the community. These are the local Rotarians meeting with the local people in the community to talk about what they need, but also to talk about what the expectation is of them, because they're our partners too, and talk about collaboration. We're not just doing it for them. They have to be actively participating. And that gets back again to sustainability. One of the requirements of this project is that the community has to get together and form water committees charged with maintaining, charged with collecting a small amount from each family to support the ongoing maintenance of the project. And that's a real community builder too, to get these committees going. And the people were so proud, especially the women got so involved in this, which is a little bit unusual in that society, but everybody's very proud of the part that the women played in the water boards. I want to introduce Maria Lopez. She's somebody we talk about a lot from the first time that we were there back in 2013. We were in a village and she didn't speak any English. The woman in the kind of rose-colored top there is an interpreter. And through the interpreter, Maria said, and she was well into her 70s, Maria said, for years I've been praying that somebody would bring us clean water. And she said, I think you people are angels sent from God. And she was, and the interpreter had the same problem I just had. She had a hard time even getting those words out. This is just her little banner exchange. This was our group. This was a big group that went to Honduras. And the next year, 2014, my daughter's on my left there. She's 15 years old. She celebrated her quinceanera down there, and it was a big deal. But these are all mostly 5950 Rotarians in various clubs. And then we talked about, we saw the need, and we have to learn, okay, what's the solution? And this gentleman pointing here, Javier Viorga, was with World Vision. He was pointing up to where the water was, where they were going to bring the water down with this PVC piping. Javier was a wonderful man, died at age 56, COVID. And this is in a community where I just had to skip over that, but this Guarita was in, I think, the second project. We were talking to them about what the water meant, and this lady in the striped top there said, now I've got time to be a mom. There's Tom Gump with me at one of the tanks that we built as one of our projects. And this is a school that we brought water and sanitation facilities to, and we'll show you some of that, the kids showing off how they wash their hands and so forth. I'm not sure they do that good a job all the time, but for the benefit of the Rotarians, they really were fantastic. And but I want to say, by the way, that I think I'm going the wrong way here. This school, we asked them about the girls, and it was another issue about the girls when they reach puberty, stopping to come to school. In this particular school, before our project was done, they had 9 girls in the school. Shortly after, they had 23 girls in the school. Now that meant either the girls were going to school and they weren't going before, or they were going some distance away. Probably a little bit of both, but the point is, they're in school and they're close to home. I got lots of personal stories, but time doesn't permit. This is another water source in one of our trips. That's just looks like a mud puddle, but that's where they were getting their water. We met with these, again, the villagers. This was a subsequent trip where we learned from them what their issue was. Lullaboard, they had no sanitation until they were defecating out in the woods. And the mayor, and I don't know if I've got that, this is what the mayor said: we have no dignity. So this is just a picture of one of the, I don't even remember where this is from. This isn't the current picture, but there is some mechanical equipment in some areas where they dig the trench. But again, as I said, an awful lot of it is done by hand. And you remember the picture, I showed you this picture before of those kids pulling water out of that hole in the ground. As far as the impact, this is clean water coming out of a tap outside of a home in the same village. It was just so amazing to be there to see them pulling water out of the hole, and then to see clean water coming out, and the kids putting their hands and splashing with such joy. It was a joy for us as well as for them. Back to Maria Lopez. You remember the picture of Maria. We came back to her village after we had completed the project there. And the smile on her face was just really something to be behold. And she grabbed the microphone. We had a little portable speaker. She said, "I never thought I'd live to see this." She said, we haven't had water for years. Sometimes the water would be so dirty you wouldn't even wash your face with it, much less drink it. And now there's about a 30 or 40,000 gallon water reservoir right on top of the village. And that's our rotary wheel, and there's also a World Vision logo on the other side that I took, of course, pictures. We had a great meeting in 2017 to celebrate the completion of the first project and talk about the second, which my club sponsored. And that's kind of it. That's the whole thing, except I wanted to introduce Bill Jackson, who is a member of my Rotary Club. Bill got involved after his retirement. He was an engineer with Mortensen, actually, everybody knows about Mortensen. And he was working with Engineers Without Borders, and ran into one of the Rotarians from my club, and they were in the same church. And John Vandermeid, who introduced Bill to me, because Bill was working with Engineers Without Borders in a different area. And let's see if I can remember, our area was lower, and this area is up to the northwest, a little place called Minneapolis. And they had become a little bit stalled in terms of funds and so forth, and so I got together with Bill to talk about what he might do in terms of getting a district grant for this and getting our club involved. Bill got so impressed he joined our club. And he said to me sometime later, "I wish I had known about Rotary when I was 30. Mm-hmm. And he's still a very active member of our club. In any event, he took that project over. It was just one community, so it was much smaller, more typical, smaller scale project. Engineers Without Borders, because of the political or situation, they were not allowed to go to Honduras anymore. So Bill took it over and has been doing it by himself, raising more funds, and he's almost done. But that's another project that I wasn't involved in. But there's so many water projects that our district has done. Haiti, we talked about Haiti a little while ago. Haiti, Dominican Republic, Guatemala, Honduras. I know there are a bunch of big projects in Africa. Our district has really been a water district. We've been very active. As I say, it's changed my life. It's changed a lot of people's lives in Honduras. And it's cemented my relationship with Rotary in a big way, even though I've been a Rotarian for a long time. So I don't have anything else to say. I hope I haven't run too much over my time, but I'd be happy to take any questions or comments.
Sorry, I'm gonna be. Did you have a question?
Go ahead.
Sure. Oh, mine's a geeky question.
Oh, we have no, we didn't say anything, right?
Mine is, did these villages never have water, or did for some reason the water system just fail?
Okay, the question is, do these villages never have water, or do the water systems just fail? Some of both. Some of both, actually. Like I said, Maria said she hadn't had water in her community since she was a teenager, I think she said. Yeah, about 50 years. Some of these had some sort of water systems that broke down and they had no money to fix them. We've seen that. In the Beatrice one that Bill was involved in, they had a water system that completely broke down and needed to be totally rebuilt. So it's a big mix.
So my nerdy question is an engineering question. So literally it's just, they're using the elevation of the water for pressure
It's gravity. Yep.
that goes into the reservoir, and then because that's obviously up high,
Yep. More gravity. More gravity. And then they just distribute it from there.
So does the pressurization, do they talk about pressurization changing at all depending on the wet season versus a dry season or anything like that?
It's a good question. Don't press me too much on these engineering. But no, but actually, I mean, I think the answer is, for the most part, and I'm sure I'm oversimplifying it, that there's sufficient water in the reservoir
Yeah,
all the
To
time.
maintain the pressure.
To maintain the pressure, yeah. And one of them, the last time I was down there, which was, what year was that? 2023, I think. They had so much, they actually had an overflow thing they had so much water that they were able to also irrigate their fields right below the tanks, which was nice.
And so Jim, to that point, you've been back several times, or you've been in communication with the communities. Are things still going okay? Is the project
Yes.
holding up?
Yes, and the third project is still ongoing. They are not done yet. Our project was just finished in 2022, and we've been back since then and viewed those projects, or some of the communities. We really only get a sample of the communities because there's so many of them. I think the one my club sponsored, I think there were 14 or 15 communities.
And how did COVID impact the projects that were ongoing?
It had a huge impact. The schools shut down, as they did here, and so it was hard to get into the schools. We had a lot of work in schools that we had planned to do that never got done. We had to kind of reallocate some money to different projects of the same sort, but there were just so many problems with that. We had, in addition to COVID, there was an outbreak of dengue fever. There were 2 hurricanes within a week of each other that devastated some of our infrastructure that we had put in, so we had to raise more money for that. There was all sorts of challenges like that. We came up with more money on the Rotary side. World Vision said, you come up with it, we'll match it again. So they went beyond their $400,000 commitment, as did we. So a lot of challenges. And there are political challenges. There was a government changed hands. They pulled some of there's mistrust between the federal government and the municipalities, and so some of the portions of the projects didn't get done because the municipal funds didn't come through. So lots of challenges, which you're going to find in all developing countries.
Yeah. Any other questions for Jim?
So thank you for listening.